All right, we're back on Lit Sports Online. We're picking against the spreads for Week 2 NFL games. Chris, why don't you give us a recap on Week 1?
So last week was the first week we picked against the spread or with the spread. So as far as our records, Justin, you brought up third place at 5-9-1. The pick you were right on strongly was the Jaguars game. You picked with confidence. You didn't care about the spread. You knew they were going to win, and they did.
Nice to have one bright spot, huh?
Right, yeah, right. I tried to do that. So myself brought second place at 7-7-1. I was the only person on the panel to pick the Vikings and the Raiders. And then I got lucky with the Chargers. They were plus 3.5. They lost by 3, so I did win by half a point on that game. Gerald, you're in first at 8-6-1. Out of all those games, the most surprising was you were the only person to pick the Browns to cover the spread, in which they did. So all of us, as far as the tie goes, we all picked Atlanta to beat the Bears. They were up -6. They won by 6, so technically it was a tie or a push. But those are records as far as the standings. It goes Gerald, myself, Justin, but anything can change from week to week.
Any given Sunday.
Right. So I guess we'll go ahead and get into the game, starting with Thursday night. We have Houston at Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a -3. Justin?
I'm going to go Cincinnati -3. Both these teams looked awful in Week 1. I think Cincinnati can get back on track here a bit. I just look at the Texans. I don't think they have everything figured out yet on offense, so I like the Bengals to win.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Cincinnati, too. Cincinnati's not playing the defense of the Baltimore Ravens this week, so I think that will definitely improve their chances of at least scoring a touchdown. So, yeah, I'm going Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with you guys. The spread isn't that much. Plus, I think since he's going to have a chip on their shoulder, they're playing mad. Yeah. Andy Dalton couldn't do much, like you said, against that Ravens defense.
Bro, they got abused.
You have two weapons in A.J. Green and John Ross, and he didn't get to utilize them at all. So we'll see what happens. You have Brian Cushing from the Texans. He wasn't scheduled to play anyway due to a concussion, but he is now suspended 10 games due to PED use and violating the drug policy. So that's
Second time.
Yep, that's something to look out for. But, yeah, I'm definitely rolling with the Bengals on this one. So it leads us into our 1 o'clock games on Sunday the 17th. We have Minnesota at Pittsburgh. It's tough to play in Heinz Field. Pittsburgh is currently a -4.5.
I'm going with Minnesota +4.5. I look at what they did last week. Yes, it was the Saints having a bad defense and all that, but Pittsburgh has a solid defense, but they're not an elite defense. I think a lot of people are still overlooking just how great this Vikings defense is, and they're overlooking. I feel like if you're picking Pittsburgh here, you're just saying that Sam Bradford's going to shit the bed in this game, and I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm going to take Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Bradford really put on last week. The Vikings in general looked pretty good, actually. I was really impressed by him. Again, traveling to Heinz Field, it's a very tough place to play. Ravens play there, once a year, and sometimes even in the playoffs. It's very tough. Some really good games there. I'm gonna have to go with Pittsburgh on this one, though. I think they're gonna come out and they're really gonna do something to Minnesota.
Yeah, if I had to take an educated guess on this one, my heart says Minnesota just based off of last week. But I do think Pittsburgh will win at home. I'm not too worried about the 4.5. I just think that even when they played the Browns, they couldn't really get off. Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown did go off for over 100 and some yards, but I think this offense has more to prove. Now, Sam Bradford did play a great game, but it was at home. It was against a mediocre defense, so we'll see what he can do on the road, but I'm going to roll with Pittsburgh on this one. So that leads us into our next game. We have Arizona going to a high school JV team. Oh, wait, Indianapolis. So Indianapolis is plus a 7.5. We all saw the beatdown that the Rams did on them. I know Justin was happy about that Sunday.
He said, "Don't let it fool you. The Rams still suck."
Right. So we have Arizona. Carson Palmer didn't look great in Week 1, but he's going into Indy. Indianapolis is a plus 7.5 at home. Justin.
Well, it is a wide spread, so it is tempting to pick the Colts here, but if they're still not going to have Andrew Luck, I get that the Cardinals lost David Johnson for essentially the year, but I actually have a lot of confidence in his backup, Kerwin Williams. I mean, he's no David Johnson, but I think he's still a solid running back.
I think you just picked him up off the waiver wire.
Yeah, I think I know something that other people don't. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to go with Arizona -7.5. It's a wide spread to cover, but I think they'll cover it.
Yeah, I agree. Indianapolis without Andrew Luck is essentially a JV football team. I don't think they're going to amount to anything this weekend. And I think even with the backup running back, Arizona is indeed going to still cover the spread, and they're going to definitely seal up a win here.
Right, and like Justin said, I mean, as far as who's at running back, I don't think it matters for this week. You have Scott Tolzien. If he's playing anything of a top 15, top 18 defense, I just don't see him moving the ball. I do feel bad for T.Y. Hilton. But
what if they decide to put Brissett in? Does that change your opinion at all?
It adds a threat on the ground as far as his mobility.
Especially what he did for the Patriots, last year?
Right. He did play a game or two, and just watch him in preseason. I don't know if it does enough.
Stop throwing theoreticals in.
Right? No, actually, I don't know if it. I just don't know if it does enough for me. It may change Arizona's game plan just because they're basing it off of Scott Tolzien, but I'm still rolling with Arizona, at least by 8. And then we have another one of Gerald's favorites. We have Cleveland going to Baltimore. Now, this is a very wide spread as well, more than what the Browns were getting when they went to Pittsburgh. So we have Cleveland at a +9.5 in Baltimore. Justin.
Yeah, it's very tempting, but man, picking against Baltimore in Baltimore is tough too. So I'm going to go with the Ravens covering this spread at -9.5. I mean, it's just Kaiser, I'm still not completely sold on him, and he's a rookie, and he's going into a hostile environment. Like, I just don't know if they're going to be able to cover that spread. So I'll pick Ravens to win, and win by, I guess, 10 points.
Yeah, again, Cleveland, they showed up last week. I'm impressed by this young squad. I think, honestly, if they can continue to develop on what happened last week and definitely just keep building, they're going to be dangerous. They're going to be definitely a team that's going to be definitely underpicked. But I honestly can't go against the Ravens. It's in Baltimore, and Cincinnati is a good offense, even though they didn't show up last week. But the Ravens' defense was too much, and Cleveland's offense is no better, not even close. So I see the Ravens definitely picking up the win here.
Right, so this game screams trap game for me.
It does.
I want to pick Cleveland so bad, and I think I will. So I'm going to roll with Cleveland on this one. It is a wide spread.
Upset alert.
Right, so again, I have to separate myself. I do think that they'll play it close. I believe it was last year, 2 games that Cleveland played Baltimore. It was pretty close. Yeah. And you got down to the late third quarter, early fourth, and the Ravens eventually pulled away.
Yeah, whenever Cleveland comes to Baltimore, or even Baltimore goes there, it's always a close game. And that's what's so scary about this spread right here.
Right, and I'm not even necessarily picking Cleveland to win. I just don't think they're going to lose. They may lose by 9, but I don't have them losing by double digits, so we'll see what happens. All right. So then, this is an interesting matchup. We have 2 teams that played a very good game week 1. We have Philly going to Kansas City. As you know, Kansas City beat up on the Patriots, and then we have Philly that beat Washington in Washington. So we have Philadelphia, who is a +4 on the road at Arrowhead.
Oh, man, this is a pretty tough one. I guess I'll take Philly +4 just because, I think Philly's defense this year might be a little underrated. And, when you think about the Chiefs, you always think about their defense. Yeah, their offense actually went off in week 1, but I don't really see that happening here. I think it'll be close, but I like the +4 team. I'll take Philly.
Yeah, it's tempting to go with the Eagles on this one, but I do think Alex Smith and the weapons he has around him are going to be enough to cover that spread. I think for sure they're going to win this weekend at home.
Yeah, I am tempted to pick Philly just based off of the injury for the Chiefs last week. They did lose Eric Berry for the season, so it is a tough one. I'm still going to roll with the home team here, Kansas City. It is a tough place to play. It is loud. Alex Smith did have a great game. I think
in New England.
I think he clicks with that offense. Justin was, I believe, last episode stated we're not sure. Wild card, the rookie Kareem Hunt. He did fumble on his first possession, but he did have a really good game. So we'll see what happens. But I am going to roll with Kansas City on this one at -4, just because I think they'll get to Carson Wentz. I think that crowd and that noise will get to him.
Yeah, I just don't think the offense is going to sustain that level of play. So we'll see what happens. from week 1 to week 2 here. If they can keep it up, then they're really going to be dangerous.
I mean, if you remember against New England, Travis Kelce only caught 2 balls for like 16 yards, so he wasn't involved as much as what he usually is. Sometimes he does take himself out of the games by getting dumb penalties, but we'll see what happens. Then it leads us into one team that is playing their first game of the season. We have Chicago going to Tampa. As you know, last week Tampa had a bye along with Miami because of the hurricane. But Chicago is on the road in Tampa. Tampa is a -5.5.
I'm surprisingly going to take Chicago plus 5.5 here. I don't like their team that much, but I mean, Cohen showed up in week 1, and I think he's going to do some damage again. And the Tampa Bay, they have a middling defense. I don't know. This looks like one of those where the spread might not be covered by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And you did have some questions about the Bears running back last episode. You did question his ability.
I did. I'm not the biggest Jordan Howard supporter, but you know what? I just feel like this could be one of those games where the worst team manages to not lose by a wide enough margin.
Man, Tampa got way too much to play for this weekend. It's the Chicago Bears. I mean, you put them in Indianapolis on the same game, I swear it'd be a snooze fest for sure.
But it's plus 5.5.
That's the tempting part. That is a good
Atlanta
point.
only beat the Bears by 6 last week.
That's true.
But that was in Chicago.
I won't dog them too much, but they're in Tampa. Tampa's got that chip on their shoulder. They got the pride of Tampa Bay on their shoulders this game. I mean, the whole city's looking for them to do something. Yeah, Tampa's going to win this one. I think they're going to cover it. I think they're going to show everybody.
I want to pick Chicago so bad, but I'm rolling with Tampa on this one. I feel like they're just going to come out too excited to play week 1. They had an extra bye week as far as rest goes. Now, later on during the season, I think that's going to hurt them. But we'll see what happens. I do like Tampa week 1. You have Doug Martin, who's still out. Jaquiz Rogers is going to be roll out as the number 1. I might start him out in fantasy this week against Gerald. So I think he'll get a ball for the touches.
Extra meat, by the way.
Right. We'll see. But yeah, I'm going to roll with the home team on this one at -5.5. Then it leads us into a weird spread here. We have Tennessee going to Jacksonville. Jacksonville is a +1.5 at home. Tennessee coming off a loss to Oakland. Jacksonville coming off a beatdown against the Texans. Their defense played really well. I believe Calais Campbell had 4 sacks, a Jags record in his debut. But Justin, how do you feel about Jacksonville +1.5 at home?
Well, I want to pick Jacksonville so bad, but the problem is I think that's just too small of a spread. And what really puts it over the edge for me is the fact that the Jaguars lost Allen Robinson for the season. I think that makes the difference here. So I'm going to go with Tennessee -1.5.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tennessee, too. I just don't see this as big enough a spread to choose against them. I think Tennessee for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with Tennessee. Like Justin said, it's not too big of a spread. If it was 3.5, maybe 4, I would contemplate taking Jacksonville. But I watched Tennessee last week against Oakland. They really couldn't get the run game going with DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry. So I really think they try to establish that early on. I'm going with Tennessee on the road.
Cool.
All right. That leads us into our next game. We have Buffalo going to Carolina. Buffalo took care of the Jets last week. And then Carolina, of course, easily handled San Fran. But Buffalo is +4.5 on the road in Carolina. Justin?
I'll take Carolina -4.5. I think that, you give Cam Newton's shoulder another week of rest, and he's going to come out being Superman Cam rather than what we saw in week 1, which was still pretty decent, but
Superboy.
I like a more rested Cam Newton in this game, and the fact that it's at home. Yeah, 4.5 is a fairly decent spread, but I'm still going to roll with Carolina here.
Yeah, again, the rest for Cam Newton definitely helps them when they take on Buffalo. I don't see Buffalo winning this one, so I'm going with Carolina at home.
Yeah, I'm going to take Carolina easily. I do like the weapons that they put in Carolina with them. I think Jonathan Stewart and Christian McCaffrey is a good mix, almost like thunder and lightning, sort of. But yeah, I just don't like Buffalo. I don't see Tyrod Taylor even lasting a full season. I think he'll get replaced later on down the line when they have offensive troubles. But, I mean, you got to look at, I do feel bad for the Bills because as far as offensive weapons, I mean, you do get rid of Sammy Watkins. So it's just like, and then Stephon Gilmore went to New England.
Mm-hmm.
So you lose all these people around you. I just don't see Carolina losing at home. And then that leads us into an interesting matchup. We have New England, who's going to be well rested. I believe 2 or 3 extra days of rest because they did play a Thursday night game, going to New Orleans, who has a short week because they just played on Monday night. So New England is -4 on the road. Justin.
This is actually kind of hard because in week 1, New England's defense looked horrible.
Right.
Terrible.
And New Orleans has always had a horrible defense, but both teams have a good offense. It is +4 for New Orleans, but I just don't know if I see New England going 0-2 to start the season. Like I just feel like, and I feel like they're not going to lose it. They're not going to win it by only a field goal. I don't know. I just got a feeling that New England's the better pick here, so I'll take New England.
Yeah, you got 2 great quarterbacks, 2 really good offenses that are going to be going against, again, 2 less than spectacular defenses. Tom Brady, for the sake of my fantasy team, please show up this weekend. I have to be Chris. I have to get this free lunch on next Tuesday. And for that reason, I'm going to pick the New England Patriots. Because there's no way, again, they're going 0-2. Now, if they do, I'll eat those words, but I don't see it happening. Yeah, whatever. I just don't see it happening.
All right, 2 words. Drew Brees is going to win this game, or at least cover the spread. 2 reasons why. There's 2 points. There's only 1 quarterback that has a winning record against Bill Belichick and the Patriots. It is Drew Brees. There's only 1 quarterback against Bill Belichick and the Patriots that has a QBR above 100. It is Drew Brees. So I think he's going to score a lot of points. Obviously there's some questions with New Orleans defense, but I'm rolling with Drew on this one.
Okay.
I think he shows up. Like I said, they may not win, but I definitely have him covering the spread. I'm going with the Saints.
This is definitely going to be a really good offensive game, though. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for it. Tom Brady's got something to prove, but I also think Drew Brees wants to show him something as well. So then that leads us into another matchup. We have Miami going to the Los Angeles Chargers. Miami obviously coming off a week 1 bye, again due to the hurricane. Going to LA to face the Chargers. Chargers are -2.5 at home. As you remember, the Chargers lost by 3 to the Broncos in Denver. So Justin, how do you feel about this?
I love the Chargers in this one. I'm going to take the Chargers -2.5, just to think that Miami doesn't present enough threats as an overall team. I mean, yes, they have a Jai and they got some weapons, but like building the team around Jay Cutler now on the offense I don't like, and I don't like their defense either. And I think Chargers are a team on the rise this year, and I'm definitely taking them here.
Yeah, when they signed Jay Cutler, they were smoking dope. Seriously, straight up. There's no denying it. The Chargers are going to win this one.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. Only a -2.5 at home. If it was like in the 4s or 5s, I may contemplate it, but I think Chargers easily handle this game. I do like Phillip Rivers. I do like the way the offense is moving. And like I said last week, their defense is underrated. They're not great, but it's nothing to just look over or pass over.
Yeah.
So then we go into another mediocre team. We have the New York Jets going to Oakland. Now this is a very large spread. Yeah. We have the Jets +10 in Oakland, or I guess Las Vegas. But so Justin, how do you feel about this with such a large spread?
Yeah, I mean 10 points is a pretty big spread here. So I'm actually going to go with the Jets +10. I think it's one of those things where, like, the Raiders could win by 10 and this is a push.
Right.
You know, so, like, for me, there's not a whole lot of upside to taking the Raiders here unless you think, like, they're completely just going to run up the score. So I like the Jets +10, even though their team sucks.
Yeah. I don't see the Raiders running up the score. I think they're going to have a great game. I think they're going to win for sure the actual game. But when it comes to this spread, yeah, you got to go with the Jets. There's just too many things that could or could not happen. So I think for sure the safe bet is just to stick with the Jets, but I think the Raiders will actually win the actual game.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you guys. I think Oakland wins the game. I don't know if it's by 11 or more.
No.
Like I said, I've always, me being a betting man, I've always known teams to score in garbage time. Raiders may be up 10, maybe up 9. and the Jets go in for a field goal or score a lousy touchdown just because they're slacking. Raiders are slacking on defense. They got the game in the bag. So I'm rolling with the Jets here +10. Just too big of a spread for me.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing about it is the Raiders' defense. I don't think it's that intimidating. I mean, they got Khalil Mack and some other guys, but I think that McCown could surprise and keep this close. So we'll see what happens.
Word to MC Therapy. I know you're watching this, dude. We're not saying the Raiders are going to lose this week, okay? Stay out of our comments section this week. Come on the show. But no, for sure. There's no way they're going to cover that. I just don't see them covering that spread.
Right. All right, so that leads us into my favorite matchup of the week. We have Dallas going to Denver.
Woo.
Dallas is -1.5 or Denver +1.5. Denver's +1.5 at home. We have Denver coming off a 3-point win against the Chargers. We have Dallas coming off, I believe, a 13-point win at home against New York. So, Justin, I'm curious to hear your pick on this one.
Well, I know you're not going to like it, but I'm taking Denver +1.5.
Terrible pick. Terrible pick.
Dun, dun,
I mean, because here's the thing. Everyone overlooks Trevor Siemian. They all think he's complete garbage, can't do anything. But this is Denver at home, and you're giving them the +1.5. I have to say I like it. You know, that defense is really good. I don't know, man. I think the +1.5 actually could make a difference in this one. I'm going to take Denver.
Yeah, if you had mentioned the running game, I might even gave you something on that one. But there's no way Dallas is going to lose this. I for sure think Dallas is going to run away with this game, honestly. I just see that
In the Mile High Stadium? I don't know, man.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first team to run away with against Denver in the Mile High Stadium. Especially when you have one of the best running backs in the NFL. No, he's going to have a good day. I think Ezekiel Elliott, again, playing with that chip on his shoulder, he's got something to prove this season. I think Dak, too, also has a lot to prove. He has weapons out there, and Cole Beasley, your boy. So, yeah, for sure.
He's on my
Dallas
fantasy
is taking
team.
it.
He's on my fantasy
Yeah,
team.
well, I hope he breaks his leg in that case. But I'm just kidding. That's sad. That's mean. But no, Dallas definitely taking this one.
Yeah, I definitely didn't like Justin's pick on this one. I don't care if it's... I just have Dallas winning straight up. You could have gave me Dallas -3. I think Dallas is covering it.
Yeah.
I think they win by a touchdown. You mentioned Trevor Siemian. So Dallas's defense, obviously, as you know, is subpar.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the Giants didn't have Odell last week, but I think that Eli Manning is more of a threat than what Trevor Siemian is, and we held him to without a touchdown. So I'm going to roll with Dallas on this one just because I think they will control the clock. I just think that with Dallas's offense, with it being 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, it's not a passing down. It's not a gimme on that. So I think that really plays in the minds of defenses. You got to remember Denver's defense did lose T.J. Ward. He did leave, so they did lose a couple pieces on defense. And I just think that Dallas's motive and their goal is to keep the other offense off the field, which is what they did against New York. I believe the time of possession was like 40-20, as far as 40 minutes to 20 minutes. So I got Dallas in this one.
All right, well, we'll see. That's going to be a key one to watch. Got some disagreement on the panel.
All right.
Or just stupidity on your side. I'm just...
All right. So now that was my bias pick. So now we have Justin's. We have the Washington Redskins, who lost. They came up flat at home against the Philadelphia Eagles, going to L.A. to play the Rams. Now, the Rams are +1.5 at home. We all saw what the Rams defense did against the Colts. We're all wondering if that's going to repeat here. But, Justin, I'm curious to see what you think about Washington coming to L.A. for this game.
Well, I've seen the Rams beat the Redskins several times in the past, but I honestly think it was a fluke that the Redskins did that poorly in Week 1. I don't think that's representative of what their season's going to be. And it pains me to do it, but I am going to take Washington over my team. Washington's one of the teams I was more bullish on coming into this year, and I think they're going to maybe get back on track here.
Yeah, you did make a good point. I don't think that their performance last week was any way indication of what team they are. I honestly am not terribly confident again in the Rams. No offense. I mean, they played the Colts, so...
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Anyone
that's
could
the
have beat up
thing.
on the Colts.
Anybody could have beat up on the Colts and made them look like an all-star Super Bowl contender. So in the saying that, I think DC's going to go into LA this week, and I think they're going to pull off some magic.
L.A. I'm picking the Rams on this one. Sean McVay, I like what he's doing with the offense. I feel like they're re-energized on offense. They got a new system in there, so I do like their defense. I don't think it's going to completely shut down Kirk Cousins in the offense. They're going to score points. Like you said, I don't know if it was a fluke, but they did get stunned a little bit by the Eagles' defense. They came up a little short, but I'm going to roll with the Rams with this one. I think with the late game in LA on the road, I have the Rams.
Okay.
All right, so then that leads us into the biggest spread of the week. We have San Francisco going to Seattle for a 425 game. Seattle was minus 13 at home. Pretty big spread as far as this. I mean, you're talking 2 touchdowns here. We saw what Seattle didn't do against Green Bay last week. Their offensive line is obviously an area of concern. But Justin, how do you feel about this one?
I know the San Fran is kind of a trash team, but the thing is, like, if I'm going to take the Jets plus 10, how can I not take San Fran plus 13 here? So I'm going to go with the team that's got the wide margin on the spread and take San Fran plus 13. I mean, it's going to be tough still. Hoyer, I mean, if Sherman's covering Garcon the whole time, I don't know what Hoyer's going to do, but still, it's just too wide of a spread. It's too tempting for me to not take the 49ers.
Yeah, this is another one of those trap games Chris was talking about earlier. It's so hard to pick against Seattle, especially Seattle looking to redeem themselves. A 13-point spread, for sure, again, it's another case where Seattle's going to win. We know this. But are they going to win by 2 touchdowns? I don't think so. I think, honestly, no, I just think San Francisco they're going to pull the spread.
Right, and I'm gonna roll with San Fran on this one plus 13. I just don't think Seattle's offensive line is going to be able to protect Russell Wilson. I think after all these years of stacking in on the defense, how you couldn't put a couple pieces around to protect Russell Wilson is very strange to me. I don't see San Fran losing by 14 points, maybe by 10, maybe by 8 or 9, but 2 touchdowns is too much. I'm not going to give that up.
Yeah, and I think Seattle doesn't have much of a running game either, which is another problem for them. But, again, not saying they're going to lose the game, but it's just too wide of a spread for me.
And Green Bay's defense is not top 10. So, I mean, I believe, I want to say Seattle maybe had like 60 or 70 rushing yards. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, there was times where they would run plays out of the shotgun or in the I formation where they would get stopped at the line of scrimmage. So, like you said, their run game is missing.
Yeah.
So that leads us into a very interesting matchup. It's a rematch of the NFC Championship game from last year. You have Green Bay going to Atlanta. Green Bay's a +1. You might as well say there's no spread here unless the game ends in a tie. But, Justin, how do you feel about Green Bay on the road in Atlanta? Basically a pick'em game.
I like Green Bay winning the rematch here. I think it's one of those situations where the home field advantage won't matter much. And, Falcons have had some shakeups as far as coaching and whatnot through the offseason. I just think they could go the other way this time. I like Green Bay here.
I don't think it will go enough. I think Atlanta's going to pull it out. I mean, it's a 1-point spread? That's way too close. I'm giving it to Atlanta. They're at home. I mean, I know they're still 100% salty from the Super Bowl. Right. So they're always looking to prove themselves. I think this whole season they're going to be looking to prove themselves any way they can. And Green Bay is a formidable opponent for them. So I think Atlanta's going to pull it.
All right, so I'm going to roll with Atlanta on this one. I do think it is going to be a high-scoring game. Mm-hmm. I'm expecting like mid-upper 30s. I just like the home team in this one. It's basically a pick 'em. There's no spread really. But I just think that Green Bay's defense, it didn't have anything to prove, but it was able to show up just with the lack of offensive line that was in Seattle. Not saying that Atlanta's is great, but I just think that with them matching up against a harder line to break through, I just like Matt Ryan in this for some reason.
I feel pretty good about my pick here. I mean, I just don't think we're going to see the same Falcons of last year. Matt Ryan last year, great. But he didn't have a whole lot of years before that where he played at the same level. I know what I'm getting with Aaron Rodgers. So I think the X factor for Atlanta is if they can get that ground game going.
Right, and then, I mean, you two did pick Aaron Rodgers last week against Seattle. I was the only one that took Seattle. Obviously, I was the loser in that situation. So we'll see what happens with A-Rod.
Let's go.
And then that leads us into our Monday night game, final game of Week 2. We have Detroit going to New York as far as the Giants. Now, Detroit coming off a win against Arizona. and we have the Giants coming off a loss against Dallas. So Giants are the home team. They are -5. Justin.
Yeah, I'll take Detroit +5. I just think that's a nice spread, a nice safe spread to pick the Lions here. If it was a closer, like a plus 1, -1, +2, -2, maybe I'd think about taking Giants. But I like the spread here with the Lions.
Yeah, same thing. I like Detroit going into this week. Odell Beckham Jr., are we for certain on him?
He's still tossed up. I did read an article and watch TV this morning. They did say he's looking better than what he's ever been. They said he was able to cut. He was able to pivot. So it's looking like he will start week 2, but we'll see. I don't know if they're going to throw him out because he's a decoy or anything like that. So we'll see what happens. I thought they were going to throw him out against week 1 against Dallas just to make a guy cover him, but we'll see what happens.
For sure, I think the Giants' production depends on how much they can use Odell Beckham positively.
Right.
So that's the reason why I'm picking Detroit this week.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one for me. Just to go off of the Odell really quick on a rant, I think he is the most important non-quarterback that we have in this league. I think the Giants' defense was just awful against Dallas. Dallas was just able to just play basic cover 2, and they weren't getting any looks as far as the passing game. So I think when he's in the lineup, it changes the whole dynamic. I do like Detroit on the road on this one, +5. Now, if Odell is playing, like I said, I think they'll throw him out there. I don't know if he may get 20, 25 snaps. But I'm going to roll with the away team on this one. I think Detroit, their offense, I do like the rookie wide receiver. Matt Stafford, he's a toss-up from week to week, but I'm going to roll with him on this one on the road. I think the Giants start out 0-2, which is going to be terrible for them because if you look at their schedule, it only gets harder. I believe before week 8, they have to play Oakland, they have to play Denver, they play Seattle. So you're talking about week 8, they could have 4 or 5 losses. And if that's the case, then I don't see him even making a run at the wild card, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, X factor for Giants here would be their defense. It's better than the Lions' defense.
Oh, hands down.
But the thing is, I just don't. I'm no confidence in Paul Perkins. They might be able to get something go out of the backfield with Vereen possibly, but yeah, if Odell's still limited and not going to play, it makes it pretty easy for me to make this pick.
And I'm surprised you mentioned the running game. I mean, if you look at the off season, how many running backs were available as far as via trade, free agency? I'm surprised they didn't go after LeGarrette Blount. I'm surprised they didn't go after a couple people. It's a position that they didn't shore up, that they didn't take care of. And their offensive line, Eric Flowers, as far as the guard, is just a liability. Defensive lines are going to be able to do what they want with them. So I'm going to roll with the away team on this one, hands down.
Yeah. And I'd actually recommend that the Giants consider giving Ray Rice a call or maybe DeAngelo Williams. I'm sure they still need a job. Give one of those guys a look.
I know another guy that could use a job. Obviously, as you know, he's been in the news, Colin Kaepernick. I think he needs a job. He is,
I think he's willing and able to be on most NFL teams. So
yeah, and it just baffles my mind when I watch the game in LA last week, and why have the Colts not picked up the phone and called Colin Kaepernick? They could have literally threw Colin Kaepernick out there and said, "Here's 7 plays. You run those 7 plays, and that's it." And he would have put up more competition than what Scott Tolzien did. So
that's a very good point.
We'll see what happens, and of course we have to put out a disclaimer. These are just predictions. We're going off of our judgment. We're going off of research that we've done, beliefs that we have. Injuries and stuff will obviously come out. We're doing this on a Thursday, so it could change by Sunday as far as game time decisions on injuries and people who play. So please don't take this as advice to bet. This is just suggestions and our opinion.
Yeah. And also, another shout out to us. This is actually anniversary of our first episode of our show Couchside. 1 year of LitTube. Here we are. Excited. Keep going. Let's keep doing this. So yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe down below and comment and let us know some of your picks. Call us on our bullshit. If you think we're crap, call us. Hit us up. Let us know.
And we'll keep you updated as far as our records week to week.
Yep.
Like I said, they'll probably change. So we'll see who comes out on top at the end of the year.
Okay. Take care.